meeting of the Greenways Open Space Committee. I would like to call the meeting to order at 7:05. Okay, could we please stand? We'll start the meeting with our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming this evening on a nice cold night. I will call the roll. So Urbani? Here. Weeks? Here. Geist?
Here.
Phillips? Here. Shelton is excused. Robinson? Here. Trustee Bartlett?
Here.
And Brock?
Here.
Good. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda as presented? Take a look. Yes.
I do have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to be talking, will Michelle be talking about the tree ordinance? Do you think we're going to be talking about that?
I'm not so sure. I mean, about the tree ordinance.
I didn't think we were going to tonight.
Pardon me?
I didn't think we were going to tonight, and I thought you were going to write an article on that.
Yeah,
but
I
I
am.
put down that maybe
Right.
in the future we can go through that.
I do have, in your packet, I have some information about that.
and I've read that.
Right, mhm.
But, Mickey, I would like to just under discussion items, just talk about it a little bit. I spent some time looking at it today.
That's
I haven't
great.
started the article yet, and I just want to get a little input from what you think.
Would you like to add, instead of number 6, we can make an addition to the agenda?
Yes,
And
please.
we'll talk just about tree
Okay,
tree
I'd
ordinance.
appreciate it.
Fair
That
enough?
would
That
help,
sounds
thanks.
good.
Okay.
Thank you.
I would then entertain any other additions or deletions to the agenda.
We have to make a motion and
Approve it.
to add it to
Yep,
it.
I know that. Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with approve the addition to the agenda as number 6.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Geist,
Second.
second by Ms. Bartlett. Any further discussion? All those in favor of adding the tree ordinance as number 6 to our agenda, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? Now, we'd like to approve the agenda as presented in its entirety,
As amended.
as amended.
So moved.
So moved by Ms. Urbani. Second? Second by Ms. Weeks. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the agenda as amended, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? Good. I do know that in your packet you have the minutes from the January 7th meeting, so if you want to take a minute or two and look those over, I think you received those, and there were some corrections. Like Mr. Brock was James with an S, and there was a question about, from Ms. Urbani, added some information about discussion items.
Those corrections have been sent out in
Right.
electronic form. They're not printed out,
But
but they
the
are.
typos are in your minutes, so as corrected. And I apologize for the upside down second page.
Motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Okay, motion by Ms. Urbani. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Weeks. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approval of the January 7th, 2025 regular meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? I do know, just so for a point of reference, for future reference for us all, when we have study sessions, my understanding, and I talked to Brian Friel about this, is that we do not have to keep minutes at that point or publish them at that point. So that's a good thing to know. We do have to have an agenda when we have a study session under the Open Meetings Act, but no minutes are necessary to be approved. So.
And I'm appreciative of that.
We are also, Mr. Geist. Okay, so thank you. I don't believe there are any presentations unless somebody wants to do a presentation this evening. James, we won't put you on the spot, okay? Nor are there any action items for this evening's meeting, but there will, we know, be action items in our March meeting when we look at the end of our fiscal year is going to be March 31st. And we will be looking at our budget for the following year, fiscal year, and also our goals and objectives, which we've briefly discussed in our study session. But we'll talk a little bit about the budget tonight and the worksheet on that in that regard. So just so we know. First discussion item is about trail maintenance update and about the ferry gauge parking. Anybody want to talk about that, or I can certainly tell you what I know. I do know, I can tell you right now, I want to thank Miss Trustee Bartlett and Derek Thiel and John Keim in the DPS department for an outstanding job in completing the work on the ferry gauge trail parking area, which is now a legitimate parking area off of Ferry Road. So as you come onto the open space area there, it's awesome, to be honest with you. It's well packed and well preserved. The ditching there was outstanding, and we're talking about some of these culverts and some of the piping that has to go into those places, and it was extremely well done. So I do want to thank you, Trustee Bartlett, and the rest of the township officials for certainly doing a great job on that. It's very inviting with the bench that's now there, and so it's and people are using it. So that's a good thing. Anything else on at least that? So if you haven't had a chance to go by there, you can now park there. And there was cars there yesterday, and I know the East River parking on Sunday had at least 3 or 4 cars there.
Oh, good.
Over the course of time. So people are using it, and even if, with the little bit of snowpack that we have, it's been very good. Any other question about the trail maintenance and about the ferry gauge parking? The next discussion item is our master plan study session. Any questions in that? And I don't know, I can turn it over to anyone that wants to. Trustee Bartlett, you want to talk a little bit about maybe the process? I do also want to thank you, and I think all the members would agree in terms of the nice organizational piece that you've put together in terms of like keeping us on task and also getting things done in a timely fashion, which is good. I do know if you look in your packet, there's at least some notes from our study session. And one of the things that we talked about was because we had some questions as we went through our study session in that, a couple Saturdays ago, we had some questions. So one of the first questions we had of Ross Quiro, who's the Community Development Director, and in relationship to the master plan draft, and James is the liaison, is can we get consultants? Can the consultants come and sit with us or meet with us and have a discussion about that? And the answer to that was
No. We're out of budget.
We're out of budget. Okay.
But that's okay, because Ross said if we put together a list of questions, he's more than happy to sit down with us on it. So.
So the question of the day is, in terms of this, I don't know how you want to handle the questions. I know I sat down, from our study session, and I wrote a number of different items, and I can give a couple of these. But how we want to handle it and get it to Ross, I guess, is the question. So rather than we pass it to 3 different, we can do it that way. I don't, however you want to do it, but if we simply want to have all of our questions, or do we want to give them all to James and he can compile them and then bring it to Ross? I mean, that works for me.
Would that be okay with you?
Yeah, I have no issue with, taking all your questions, and we just gather them at the end or throughout, and then I can take them to Ross, talk to him. That way it takes a little bit off his plate as well with the other stuff he has going on.
So I did that spreadsheet, but I need to finesse it some to put it into the form of questions. And I can send that, and then if you can send
Yeah, and
your
I
individual.
have like some questions that
Right.
that we put down. A lot of it was just simply clarification of like, what are we talking about here, okay? And, how, we're talking about as they're building or trying to do trying to attract new housing development and that, we're talking about, well, what about the deed restrictions as it impacts open space? You need to revisit the deed restrictions. I mean, has anybody on this body looked at deed restrictions lately? I don't think so. So things like that. I mean, that's for our understanding. I think that's important. Or we talked about the one that always threw us, I guess, was the question of private citizens allowing large tracts of their property to be available for people to access public, to open spaces or greenways. I mean, what does that mean? Things like that is what I'm saying. So if you would think that we should want to forward your information that you had or the notes that you took, and then anybody else want to send James if you have any other questions, is that an easiest way to handle it? And that way we can send a list of questions and we can get it to Ross, and then at his leisure. We do have a little bit of time from what I understand too. So, it's not like it's like, oh, this has to be done tomorrow or this week. But certainly, I mean, the questions would be good, but the, finalization of the master plan draft or the master plan is not going to be until March or April, if I'm correct in that.
So I took that spreadsheet and I tried to section it according to the master plan and put down references of where to find
Yes.
the issues there. So maybe I should take that and send it to everyone, and then we can feed him,
That would be
the
fine.
changes that we want to make to that.
Right.
It might be easier for you.
Okay, and I also just want to, for everyone, I apologize. I meant to bring my cards down here. That way everyone has my information in case they ever need to get in touch with me about anything regarding this or any sort of encroachment or anything. And I can run right after this, I can run down, grab a few, and just provide
that would be great.
That way you guys have my information.
Right, that would be good.
Great.
Good, good, thank you. Does that help us all? Is that, everybody happy with that? Does that sound good?
Bill, could you just clarify a little bit? Do you want us to send the questions to Jim?
James. yeah.
James, I'm
is
sorry,
good.
James?
Okay,
Sorry. Just send them to you?
Yes.
Questions for us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, I'll pass out my cards with my information. You guys can send it there. Not just now, but in the future. Any questions you guys
Great.
have about anything.
Got it.
And then also, before we are all out of here, I can collect everyone's question that they already may have written down premature, and I can take those as well. For today, at least.
I would suggest that anything that's sent to James, that everybody on the committee is copied, so at least we know what people are thinking.
right, so we don't,
have a duplication effort, if nothing else.
good, yeah, that's good. Anything else? Anything else on the master plan? But again, I want to thank you all for taking the time on a Saturday, which I think was a productive time to go over and review this. And we do that periodically, and I think it's helpful for us as a group, so, to do a better job. Yes, go ahead.
One thing, James, perhaps on those list of action items and they have the number of different groups and organizations involved in it, but it says champion and, support or whatever it is. Partner, thank you. Does it is the first one considered a champion, or is that not necessarily designated in that?
That is something that I would have to get back on.
Okay.
That I'm not sure of right now. I apologize.
Well, we couldn't answer that on that work session either, so.
This time, I can go back and look at it.
Okay, yeah, okay, good. All right, thank you. The next order of business, and it is our business today, but maybe more so, is at least the budget for 2025-26. So our fiscal year ends March 31st, which is like next month, okay? And you in your packet, could you please find, and I want to do this on a color sheet, like green naturally, but I couldn't find any paper, and the printer already started when I was working. It says maintenance fund status 24-25 April through March. Everybody see that? And it also states as of like this, almost the same time this year or last year, 2/6/24, our maintenance fund status was $162,585.74. So that's what we started with in a year ago about this time. As of the end of January 2025, we're down to 135,178.56, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But please also know that the maintenance fund has not, these were millages that were passed, and there were two separate funds. One was an acquisition fund that was first voted in by the people, that is now down to a solid $20,000, because we brought that down. Whatever monies they had, it was now $20,000 for property acquisition. The next piece was the maintenance fund, which is a separate fund designed mainly for maintenance, nothing else, no property acquisition. And that now was, whatever monies they had, that has not been collected, to my understanding, since like 2001. So the monies had been collected prior to that, and now we're to this point. If you take a look at in this document that you see, I think some of you who have been on the committee longer than I have realized this is a pretty familiar document that they've been using for a long time. So that's the first thing. And please, if we look at rather than the budget for 23-24, which was like $36,000, this year we estimated that our expenditures, our budget would be $51,500. Everybody see that? For these various items. And so we budgeted like $500 for removal of trash, $12,000 for tree cutting, and so forth, all the way down, okay? If you look at the far right column, we could say this is actual, but in some cases we're going to find out it's not actual, because some of the monies have not yet been, they may have been encumbered, but they haven't been paid. So they may be on our budget, but it's a question of they haven't been paid out yet. And I basically, when I looked at the right-hand column here, I took it from the document that the Finance Department gives us, which is the invoice distribution report for us, and it's from our due dates. That's also in your packet, from 4/1/24 to 1/31, both journalized and unjournalized, open and paid. Notice that? So they are paid. So please make Lisa realize that.
Well,
go.
Pardon me for interrupting, but my question is, it says it's through January 31st, but the most recent due date on there is November 12th. So,
Right. Well, they still ran it through
Okay.
up to this point. So if there had been anything else this is, I think from a computer standpoint, if they were going to catch it, it would go all the way to January.
I think one of your earlier points is that there could be activities between the middle of November
Yes,
and
yes,
now
they have
that
not yet, the
haven't
bills have
been-
not come in, we haven't paid them, correct. So if you want to go line by line, I mean, how do you want to handle it? We can do this one of two ways. See that we budgeted, for example, $500, and this year for removal of trash and debris, we haven't spent anything on that specifically. So the question here is one of two things. Should we keep that as a line item, or should we not?
Well, I mean, most of the old debris that was in the woods is gone from that big event that we had with the Boy Scouts, right?
Yes, right.
And so, is there additional big chunks or any past sins that remain to be cleaned up?
Not that I'm aware of. Or anybody else?
I think most of the debris in the woods is a result of old debris, from what I could see.
Or old practices, or old dumping, correct.
And so anything new seems to be taken care of by the dump the junk situation, preventing it in the first place, and then anything that blows in there from, people's recycle bins and that,
Right,
I see a lot of people picking that up, so
correct.
I don't know that we need it.
Any comment on that? I mean, we didn't spend anything on it this year.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so we don't wait. We can say, no, I'm okay with that. One of our biggest line items is tree cutting and removal, right? With the township is contracted with TNT, or in some cases, they may do it themselves if it's in a timely or an emergency fashion. Excuse me. We budgeted $12,000 this year. We budgeted $12,000 last year, and I think that line item has been it's certainly 10,000 or more. Partly because we never know. So I think we try to be safe rather than sorry in that regard. And this year, at least to date, we have spent $8,100 on tree cutting and removal. So we know we have to keep that as a line item. It's a question of
Much?
how much.
I don't think we've been very aggressive at removing trees that are down but not a problem.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yes.
And would this be the line item I would think that would come out of?
Yes. Yes, it would.
So it's almost like, you reach a certain point in the year and you have this remainder of funds open, like we're coming up to the end of the fiscal year. And you'd say, okay, well, we got $3,000 to potentially, between now and April 1st, I guess,
Right.
to have some things identified to remove. You could do it that way,
To get it done, right.
or you could add funds to it. I'm fine either way.
Right. For next year.
Well,
See, that's you don't know. I mean, partly, sometimes, and go ahead.
I was saying also, we are still, part of the fiscal year, and there are potential for winter storms yet to come in that. So unless we go back and take a look at past complete fiscal years and see how much we spent in total, I'm not sure we got a good picture of what this might be. Because again, if we get a good storm, that could easily fill the rest of that up. So.
I'm just saying, so, yeah, that's why I'm saying that it's not, this is just like to date.
And, I mean, in that scenario, then the money would come from,
This
A
is where it would come
different
from. It would be,
category.
it's based on this year's budget, not 25, 26. To be honest with you, I'm perfectly fine carrying over $12,000, only because, let me give you an example. Here we know that in May 3rd, we were billed $2,700 for 2 trees near 26872 East River. So that's $2,700 for 2 tree removals, 2. So when you're looking at like, okay, well, we still have some money, and Ray's point's well taken. I mean, it may be more, but I'm just saying, if we're looking at a budget for next year, do we think that number of like $12,000 would be a suitable one to carry over, or do you think it should be more? I mean, I don't. Yeah, go ahead.
We're jumping up from 36,000 to 51.5.
That's what we did.
Yeah,
For
so
this
maybe
year.
we want to cut back a little bit in some of the line items since.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I think we started with number 1. We've already cut $500, so,
I think the budget for this current year was increased a bit because we're doing signs, we're looking at, like I said, put in parking
Trails.
and that, things we hadn't done in some of the previous years, so
Right.
I think that's why we increased the current budget
Exactly.
from the year before in anticipation of costs we had not incurred in the past.
Right.
We also redid the natural areas.
Right.
Booklet, which will not be on next year's budget, right, that kind of stuff.
Well, I think 12,000 is a good number.
Yeah.
Well, based on our history, and keep in mind, that's why I put the budget numbers from 23, 24. That's where a lot of this kind of came from, so we, and I didn't, have an extensive, but you can run a history on all of this, I'm sure, and you can see over the course of time what it is, and it's certainly, I don't believe it's been over that. Since you guys have been on this, committee, have we spent more than $15,000 on tree cutting? I don't recall, that's what I'm saying, I don't think so.
We have.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, but I'm just saying, we're trying to, however, easy way to do a budget here. Allocated maintenance costs, so we allocated $500 for like equipment, to maintain some of the equipment that the DPS does when they're working or they're doing the dump the junk or whatever. That came in at $643 that we've spent so far, so we're a little over budget. I mean, it's within the whole scope of the budget. But I'm looking at, do we think we should up that to $700 or do we keep it at $500?
I think 500 fine. It's not that big of overall
An
totals.
overage? Is that, I mean, are we okay with that? I mean, he was saying he thinks 500 is fine, because I don't think we go over it, we're not over it by much, $143. All right. We allocated, and this has been about the going rate for it, dump the junk, we have 2 dump the junks, one in the spring, which we'll have to be talking about again here, pretty soon, and then, one in the fall. Both, when you take a look at your invoices, what we've paid for dump the junk, which is basically, we, have a porta-john that we rent. We know that we have, a tire company come and recycle the tires so they don't get thrown in the open spaces. And the biggest thing is Priority Waste, provides, right now we've been averaging 15 dumpsters, but that also comes with a cost. So the cost of the dumpsters alone is like $3,675. So on dump the junk,
But that was for the spring one.
but no, there's 2 there.
Yes, yeah, 3675 twice.
Right, that's what I'm saying, yes.
Yeah.
So, each time they do it. So the total cost that we have allocated and that we have spent on dump the junk this year was $83.36, so $8,336. So should we just stick at 8, or you want to bump it up a little bit?
Do you have any idea whether the cost for the dumpsters would go up, or whether we feel we might need some additional ones? Of course, I'm not sure where they would put them,
Right.
because we fill that place up pretty well.
I know.
But mostly the cost.
Well, I think we've increased it to 15 just as of like this year. So we've increased it from last year. And that would be reflective in why we're over why we're now, it's over $8,000. But you know what I'm saying?
So, just as part of history,
Yeah.
dump the junk, how does that fall under open space?
Well, anybody who's been around a long time, want to talk about that one? Why is this under open space? Because it's been, to be honest with you, it's been since its inception, I think.
Is it?
Yeah,
I mean, in theory, my understanding is that it was promoted by open space to prevent the dumping and of debris and garden waste and plantings and stuff, as well as actual garbage and dumping in the open space that was tires specifically, concrete, bushes that people tear out of their yards and stuff. It's,
Grass clippings.
Toilets.
They've
Go
got
ahead.
an easier way to know that it's there a couple times a year, and then use the open space, dump the junk instead of putting it in open space. So it's been pretty successful in my mind. So
We get quite a large participation from the community in that.
Bert, you've been around a while. You want to maybe give your insights on that?
Well, what Theresa said is true, and because it predates my arrival on the Open Space Committee, but yeah, it was suggested by the way back Open Space team, and I mean, technically, you would think it would just be a township, responsibility, and it's good of Open Space to do it and to manage it. It'd be nice if it wasn't out of our diminishing maintenance fund.
That's actually my concern, because if I read this right, we're looking at 51,500 for this next budget, but we only have 135,000 left, so we have less than 3 years.
No, you're
No?
not. No, here's what it is. This is what we proposed for 24, 25. We're now looking at 25, 26. Okay?
Yeah,
And this should say actual maybe under remarks. So this is like a worksheet, so we are not yet put together the budget. So we're trying to go line by line here to try to just to show you, this is the right-hand column is the actual, what we spent so
Right.
far. Out of $8,000 for dump the junk, we spent 83.36. That's all I'm saying.
but if we kept the budget as is for next year,
Right.
then we would have funds for less than 3 years.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Oh, that's certainly an issue.
So, I mean, my only concern is that we try to cut where we can,
Right,
just to make that last.
right. No, I agree.
I mean, ultimately you need
Mickey,
a millage, or you're not gonna. I mean, we talked about this for the last 5 years.
Right.
If you
Yeah,
don't get a
ultimately, you need a
millage,
millage.
if you don't get a
Right.
millage, you're not gonna have an open space.
Right.
Or you
So
need,
there's no guarantee ever on a millage,
Yeah.
since it's
Right.
subject to vote, but we're gonna have the budgeting process coming up for the township, and so we'll be going through the finances, so as part of that, I'll ask them if there's any plans to look at a millage down the road.
Right.
We've reviewed it from time to time, and it seems like every time we think we got an idea when we might want to go forward, there's some other issue or crisis come up related to millage, whether it's police, fire, buying a new bridge,
Bridge.
and things like that.
That's what I was
No,
thinking
and we
of.
understand.
So we're cognizant of, tax fatigue in the community, so we've just we knew we have a little bit of the fund left, but trying to find when would be a good time to go back and ask people for additional monies. We just haven't found what we feel is a sweet spot.
Okay.
Mickey, it's a wonderful community event. You'll have to come and, have you ever been to one?
Yeah, I've been down to that. It really is, but I was
Put you to
I was
work.
thinking of pushing the cost off to the
Oh, yeah.
township.
Well, that's fine. Hey, don't get us wrong. I mean, that's fine. If they
But no, I
if they
know.
want to do that, but it comes out of this for whatever purpose.
In a way, this is all township money.
Yeah.
Right.
And we do get a lot of help from the DPS.
Yes,
people
they
in
do.
this regard. And I think like Theresa and Bert have said, we believe that has helped keep waste materials out of our open space areas and that. And so it's, I guess we believe this is money well spent.
I like it too, because it recycles or repurposes and.
Exactly. Okay. Anyway, so good discussion. If you look at the next one, this new tree plantings and whatever maintenance programs, we allocated $500. We have not spent anything this year on new tree plantings.
I would say that's, zero, and we're probably gonna end up working with whatever plan the rec committee and the goals of the township are.
So to keep it at zero. Yep. Same to eradication of invasive species. I don't know if we have, I know the Nature Conservancy has been involved with Eagle and other Michigan State University and some of their programs, but this group has not done anything with invasive species. Certainly, I've been here, so you know, we
Yeah,
can.
they were very involved down at Hennepin. Purple loosestrife.
Right, so we'll keep it with that. Oh, that was Bruce Jones's favorite, not favorite thing he wanted to go after was purple loosestrife, so we were getting after that, let me tell you.
Yeah.
And we've done a pretty good job on that. Open space wood cutting programs, we didn't allocate anything back in 23-24. We didn't allocate anything 24-25, and I suspect we may not allocate anything for 25-26.
I thought there was a conclusion on that it, the policy or whatever.
Yeah, it's my well, here was
remember.
my understanding, is because we had some people that wanted to, oh yeah, I'm gonna go out and cut trees. It's like, time out, no. Okay, you've got issues where, they're not just taking tree fall, they're taking live trees, okay? Because, they say, there's a nice black walnut, I think that'd be good, I can make some furniture, so they cut that one down too. So it's like, no, so time out. Even though you might have you try to have some sort of supervision, that's difficult to manage. The other piece is the liability. So if somebody's out there cutting a tree, it falls, they hits them, hurts them, they cut themselves, next thing you know, it's like a Monty Python skit, it's like, mere flesh wound, and so it's like, no, so I think the township is a little hesitant when it comes to that. All right.
That being said, I'd say 0.
Right. Very much so. So the next one is like trail maintenance and upgrade. And again, when we're looking at the trail maintenance and upgrade, I'm really looking at like the $3,500 where it comes to like the parking areas that we have 2 now that we have solid parking areas. The one on Ferry Gauge Trail, which has just been put in, and the other one on East River that was put in the fall. So we now have 2, and that was one of our goals for the year anyway. So, but that's why that number was so high. So we went from 11.5. And keep in mind, we also are not constantly, not as much as we'd like perhaps, but when we're able to get in there, DPS is able to get in there to spread wood chips on all these trails, okay? They do so when we're able to do so. So that's why, and so somewhere along the line, I mean, there's a cost to that. So, but we have only spent, at least to date, $7,000. So should we keep it like within that? Because, let me just make this, go ahead.
Well, Ferry's not in this yet, right?
That would be Ferry.
But I mean, they just did
You're
Ferry
right, they
Road.
just did it. Well, that's why I
Yeah.
have a question. That's why I have a figure in parenthesis there.
And so I would think, this is a big part of it leading into the other things that, work along the overall island goals, right?
Right.
I would say you keep it up there and maybe bring it down to 10.
I don't have a problem with that. Do we want to, any question about that?
What is that 7,000?
I think the 7,000 is the 3,500 that you see that was from Miles Trucking, the last thing on your invoice here.
Oh, okay.
And I just doubled that in the fact that because I haven't seen the bill.
Right.
Okay, so that may be coming, but, companies don't always bill us like, as fast, immediately when they do the work. So they did the work on the East River Trail, they dumped all the gravel there, and this might be that bill. I do have a meeting with Theresa McLaughlin on Thursday
Yeah.
to go over some of this, just to double check, like, hey, what about these bills, or some of these are still outstanding? So I'm just trying to so I use that number 7,000 as at least something that should be paid or has been paid.
So if we have fallen trees across the trail or trees that are endangering of falling on the trail, do those costs be included in part of trail maintenance, or is that put into the tree cutting and
I think
removal
it's a tree
category?
cutting. That's where I would put it. Right.
I don't know.
The maintenance and upgrade is, and I realize, I know exactly what you're saying, because you're maintaining the trail by, removing the tree, right, that's fallen on the trail. But by the same token, you're also, the upgrade of the trail might be, you know, in some cases, when we were building the Ferry Gauge Trail, we laid, you know, that also has a gravel base all the way, the entire trail, at least to the culvert that I'm aware of. So there was a cost of that somewhere, okay? So where it would go, you know.
And coming up, we also still have to address the bike pack section, which we want to put over a culvert
Yes, correct.
in Meridian Woods. We also need to address how to do those cut-throughs on the Meridian Wood trails, where we're putting culverts or something
yeah.
else. So there's
Correct.
still some items that we already know of that have to be addressed in the
Right.
coming year.
Correct. So I'm fine with 10.
Yeah, I would think you should be able to do it. This year should have been the more aggressive.
And it was, I think that's why the number was.
Than
so we
next
went
year, so
Well, we
10.
went from 36 to 51, that's what
Right.
I think we were anticipating. We were
Yeah,
planning
exactly.
the trails, we were looking at, you know, what were our goals, and we were trying to meet them. You know, keep in mind, we have the money, the money has been there, but it's a finite number, that's the issue.
Right.
We won't have to do, Bert, I know you're gonna be sad, update the nature areas guide. Again, thank you for your good work. But the total cost for that was $3,043, and that's an actual number there.
Now, okay, that's a total cost for all of them? Or is that our half?
I
Our
think
half.
that's our half.
So the total was approximately $6,000.
Conservancy paid the other half.
Yep, the other half.
Thank you.
And that was put up by the Nature Conservancy.
That included the maps on foam board or something?
Yes,
Right.
yes,
And
exactly.
that was only ours, I think.
Right, that was it, I know, but again, was money, and that was our half.
Right.
Okay, so we don't have to have that at all, so that's not gonna be in our budget for next year. And probably won't for another couple of
Oh,
years.
that's good,
That's right, so just saved you $3,000, see?
that's good.
New trail signs, benches, whatever, we went from 1,000 to 12,000. Only because we knew, at least we estimated that, first off, the signs were bad, the signs are bad, some are like, you know, and that's one of our goals, to upgrade those and to get new ones or to replace them and do whatever. Okay, and to date, we've spent $8,277 on new trail signs, but also realize, if you want to put in the margin for that, put a little parenthesis, $5,000 this group approved on new signs, and not necessarily benches, but new signage for open space properties, up to $5,000, you recall that. We have not yet ordered those, or we have not yet, because that's work that needs to be done between now and April, and it will be, but that will be billed on, this will go on this budget. So that money, so put up to 5,000. So if we have $5,000 that we, you know, it may come in at 3,600 by the time, that's all we need to do this year. So, but again, we have voted and approved up to $5,000.
And you didn't estimate that when you put down in the remarks, the 8,277? Or
No,
those are
that's-
actual?
Those are actuals,
Okay.
right? Those are actuals.
I think, you know, we bought the majority of the signs, but you still gotta pay to have them installed.
Yes, all right.
And you still have ones you need to repair.
right.
So, I mean, I think, you know, it's, you can shrink a little bit out of it, you know? Maybe you're doing 8 or 10 on that.
Any other, for new trail signs or benches? I don't see us buying benches. We haven't. We repurposed the ones that were there, but we haven't, you know, there's not a big push on this group, let's go out and get some benches, no.
Well, I mean, you might make some out of the fallen
Well, we were
wood.
talking about that, that's exactly what, you know, if we're gonna do it,
So-
but that, and TNT would do it, but they would also charge us. So 12,000 might be too high, but give me a number that you'd like to,
I'd say, you do 8.
any question or comment about that? I'm good with 8. And again, look at how these two probably should go together. Provisions for replacing existing signs, $1,000. I don't think we really did that. We rolled it all we did it into one. So, in the idea of the word provisions, it's just a quick, does that mean the installing?
Provisions for replacing.
I would
means
think
probably
that
means-
might just be the installing or,
Installation.
nuts and bolts or whatever they have to use. I mean, that's fine.
Instead of new trail signs, should we just call it one line item and trail signs?
Yeah, exactly.
Up the 8,000 to 9 or something?
I don't have a problem with that.
Because in addition to the replacing the signs that we have for open space, we're also talking about
Those
doing
smaller signs.
trail use signs in that too. I don't know how much those will cost, but we haven't spent anything on that yet.
No, we haven't. So you want to go 9 on that, and we'll just call trail signs,
Yeah, just make it
trail
sign.
signs in maintenance, or just say trail signs. And we'll go 9,000 on that. We don't have to worry about new trails for Ferry Road in Manchester. Those are done. We haven't allocated any money for that. Equipment purchase or rental, this is like, we didn't spend anything on that this year. Pardon me. And that's usually for, like if we're gonna do shipping or something, or if they were gonna do, the township needs to do, something through DPS, but we haven't gotten a bill on anything like that.
It wouldn't be a bad idea to have some money in there, just kind of like an emergency
But we should just keep $500 for equipment for purchase or rental. I mean, we might need,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Well, here's, I'll give you a classic one, okay? In the summer, some of the trails, as you know, get overgrown pretty quickly, okay? And if we hire TNT to go through and, drive their tractors through the trails and do whatever, their prices are quite costly to us. So in some cases, the DPS has been doing it, or, with their machinery, or, Ray Geist and Bill Stevenson or whoever gets a little lawnmower out there. And, Carl Bletcher did that the last time with me, and we cleared an area, and, there's no cost. But if the blade gets broken or something like that, that's where that may come from. So I'm just suggesting. So. Reimbursement for materials, that's like we spent $508, and that's on things like, we had Kenny Gape repaint one of the open pay signs, and that was like $388. So right away to repaint and refurbish. There's a reimbursement for various items. So that's more like it's a miscellaneous reimbursement. So keep that at 500. Anybody been doing a quick tally on this?
It was,
So what I'm suggesting, here's what I'm suggesting. If you add all those up, we just keep the right-hand column together, that's $35,907, okay, that we're suggesting. $8,500 has not yet been paid. $5,000 for those signs that we have not yet purchased, and I'm just guessing another $3,500, so $5,000 for the signs that needs to be ordered, another $3,500 for gravel from Miles Trucking or whomever they get it from. Because I'm only showing one on our invoices that we paid. I'm only showing one pile of gravel. One parking lot, unless, somebody out of the graciousness of their heart is going to say, oh yeah, we did the first one for free, which is fine with me.
So
wait a minute.
Right.
based on the numbers you went through here, I think the total we come up with is 40,500
That's what I got.
That's on our,
for 25,
for
26.
25, 26. Give me the number again, I'm sorry.
40,500.
One more time.
40,000, 40,
40
500.
500. Okay, 40,000. Okay.
Now, we should also keep in mind, we don't see it here, we do have some monies that come in and offset some of these costs.
Yes.
There's interest on the balance of the bond, plus we get some monies from the scrap, and if anybody contributes money and things like that, so. That wasn't provided to us on these sheets,
No.
but there is some monies that offset those costs,
Well,
so.
whatever in Ms. Bartlett, I can at least refer you to this too. Even though when we're looking at, here's our finite pot of money, we do get, as Ray said, we get interest, okay, on the bond originally, and that amounts to, over the course of a year, like $12,000 a year. So you can also put whatever our budget is here.
Oh, really? 12 grand?
Yeah, okay. We many times get donations from, Fritz Enterprises. When we do the recycling of that, they send that money back to us, which is very kind of them and gracious. That comes back to us. Any other donations, people want to just donate, sometimes they do that. They are so pleased with like Dump the Junk and Find a Treasure, that they found what they wanted, or they're able to get rid of stuff. They check sometimes, or I say, I'm not taking the money, you're going to send it to Township, they're going to send it to the treasurer, you can specify, and they do that. So that's good, and we encourage that. If
great.
people want to donate, please do. But again, this is where we're looking.
Yeah, for example, I'm looking at last year's sheet, which was through the end of February, so it was 1 month ago. There was interest earned of $13,000, and there was another $1,000 of contribution net. So we picked up $14,000. Like I said, in the first 11 months of that.
Interest and, right. So, any other question on that? Or at least, I mean, I know this is a little bit laborious, but again, it's how, rather than having another study session or going, and some people were absent and couldn't make it, but I think this at least, we can work on that.
Oh, tell me again, what's the 8,500 in parentheses?
Okay, the 8,500 in parentheses
Not
is
paid.
it's not paid. Up to 5,000 would be for signs. Another 3,500 is going to go to some company or someone to bill us. I think it's going to be Miles Trucking, who has hauled gravel for our parking lots. And we had 2 parking lots done this year, and we're only showing an invoice or a bill for 1. So I got to believe. So that's another 35. I'm just basing it on the thing that came in November.
Is that just the trucking cost? Or
It's
Gravel and
it's
trucking.
everything, right,
But the 7,000,
right.
that's by trail maintenance and upgrade, you've got 7,000. I thought that was the 2 parking lots, one that we've paid and one that we haven't.
I'm sorry.
I thought
I thought it was
Yeah.
for each one.
Okay, so maybe I'm in error, but again, yeah, I know what you're saying.
Is that a double counting? of
That's a
one of
double
them?
count there, right, for trail maintenance and upgrade. So are we gonna say it's only 3,500? But we're allocating 10,000 for next year.
Well, I'm saying that parentheses number should be
5,000,
4,000, 5,000.
5,500.
No, 5,000. Oh, yeah, no, 5,000. 3,500 off of that. Is it 5,000
right,
for
right,
the signs
right.
that we're anticipating?
Right,
We're gonna
right.
spend it.
Oh, I know what you're saying, yes, okay, so
Just
put 5,000. And again, this is only, for my money, this is only a worksheet, because I want to sit down with the township finance manager and kind of go over this and just say, hey, wait, exactly, here, we know this is the document that we've been provided, how much we have spent so far, this is what's been invoiced, we know there's some other stuff out there, so.
Okay, so we think then that our total expenditures up through March 31st will be 31,000.
Yeah, I think so.
We're like 35 or something last year, right?
Right.
So.
Correct.
It
We have
makes-
always been, at least, I think even with, when Cliff was here, we've always generally been under budget,
Right.
right?
But we knew that this year was going to be the heavy year.
Yes.
So, and we
Right.
came in, we're going to come in probably around high 30s.
Correct.
Budgeting, increase in costs and everything, and trying to do maybe just a little bit more. 40,500 seems right along the path of what we
Correct.
have been doing.
Right.
So
I mean, it's, if your point's well taken, because if you take a look at, so if we're proposing 40,500 and you go back like, to 23, 24, our budget was 36 and we probably spent 35. So we're right there.
Right.
That's not a huge increase from one year to the next. And even this year, and please understand this, even this year, if we spent 31 or whatever we spend, it's going to be under 51.5.
Right.
Right.
Well, we were, yeah.
We had a busy,
were-
we anticipated a heavier year. And again, you never know in terms of with the weather or how things work out or the cost of things as they increase.
So who put together this worksheet?
I did.
So, are you gonna plug the numbers in and give us an updated one? Because I'm not sure I copied everything down right.
It's in the invoice is here in your packet.
But I mean,
Okay.
with the dollar
Oh,
amounts
you
that
mean
we
this one here?
agreed on,
What, for next year?
that we agreed upon.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. So what I would suggest I will do is that, I'm gonna have the meeting on Thursday with the finance manager. Okay, we'll go over and double check some of the numbers and things of that nature. I will email everyone. I think that's well within our purview to do so, let people know what that, and then at our next meeting, we will adopt the budget for 25-26 fiscal year. Starts April 1st through, March 31st.
School year,
April through,
March?
March,
Yeah.
right, fiscal year. That make sense? So we still have, and again, we still have 2 months, February and March, the bills may still come in, so the numbers will be adjusted. Good. Okay? All right. Anything else on the budget? Thank you very much. I appreciate your time and effort and insight. We also, at our study session, kind of kicked around at least a little bit some of our goals and objectives for 25-26. I didn't include any of those in our packet because basically we know we're going to do at least 3 things for sure. Number one, we know we're going to still be vigilant when it comes to our main trails and open spaces. So that's one of our major goals that we have to continue to maintain and keep. That's why we're putting a budget together in the first place. Number 2, we know we're doing 2, unless this group says otherwise, we're going to do 2 dump the junks, right? And so we're going to do 1 in the spring. That will determine probably at our next meeting, like when we're going to do it, let people know. And then we'll do another 1 in the fall. So we do 2 dump the junks. Third thing we're going to do is that we're going to try to increase, because that's also part of the master plan that has been at least drafted and developed. And it's always been one of our goals for the last several years, is that we want to increase our activities and our communication with the schools, K through 12. And we also know that we want to maintain our good relationship and goals with the Grosse Nature and Land Conservancy in terms of programming there.
I think this year is going to, also lead to more collaboration with the recreation department.
Yes. Right.
That's got to be one of our goals.
And again, if you look at the master plan, I think I can craft some language and I can send it to you. We can all craft it, but it'll just be a question of, there's going to be increased intergovernmental, it's going to be cooperation between the committees, okay? Because it necessitates it. The master plan dictates that. And if we're gonna adopt the master plan, you know, the bottom line is that we don't want a master plan that, you know, like many strategic plans, sit on a nice shelf and gather dust, and after about 20 years, they, you know, the people kind of say, you remember the master plan? You know, you kind of, you know, drag it out, and no, you want it to be a living document that actually, you know, improves the lives of residents of Grosse-Ile. So that's where we're at. And then anything else. So if you have some ideas or input in that, we'll start a communication chain here coming pretty quickly about like our goals. But again, you know for sure the 3 goals that we're definitely talking about, and Theresa, as you identified the greater cooperation between the committees and that. So, and we don't have to overdo our goals, but you also know that we have, you know, we've been pretty successful as a I think a small group doing some good work. So, okay. All right. Along those lines, if you take a look at number 5, anything else on goals and objectives? So we'll be sending you some stuff on that. On February 11th, which is next Tuesday, we are the Grosse-Ile is having a visit from Dr. David Dimitri, who is the Director of Conservation for the Detroit Zoological Society, the Detroit Zoo. And he's going to come here and walk some of our trails, and we're going to talk a little bit about hydrology, particularly in the Meridian Woods, particularly, but other trails certainly also. He's an expert on amphibians and conservation of the environment relative to amphibians, and so he's going to be here. You are all invited. This group is invited to meet at 9:30 at the Jackson Resource Center on Macomb for the Grosse-Ile Nature and Land Conservancy partnership that we are meeting with Dr. David Dimitri. So just want to let you know you all are invited. Any comments or questions? So that's a pretty cool thing, so we'll let you know. Mandy, that goes to you. So why don't I'll turn it over to you, number 6.
Well, I'm trying to become familiar with the tree ordinance, and I just wanted to, well, I'm trying to define how to write this article for the newsletter for the Conservancy on the tree ordinance. I'm trying to refresh my memory about it, and I wanted to ask Mickey that Ross said that the ordinance needs to be updating because the Environmental Trust Fund may not be allowed now, and I can't remember, Mickey, what the connection. Do you know? I mean, I should remember because I was around then, but now I'm so old I can't remember anything. That he said it may not be allowed to be used for the ordinance or for the tree ordinance. Is that what he meant?
I think that's what he meant, but I actually focused on some other things since our last meeting with encroachment and some other things. What I can do is before the next meeting is crack this open and take a look at it. I don't know if we all want to do that, or and I can ask Ross for more details on it.
Okay, and keep me in the loop of that with you, because I'd like the article to be kind of updated. Looking over the ordinance, I was, I haven't seen it in so long, and I was really impressed by it. I mean, the detail and, I wrote down, these are all the things that are included in the tree ordinance. It's really quite lengthy. And
for those of you who'd like to know more about the Woodland and Tree Preservation Ordinance on Grosse-Ile, it's chapter 282 in the township ordinances.
it's on the township website, and it does need updating. I'm not too sure exactly what needs updating. And one interesting thing I found from Ingo Hasserod, who was very involved with the original tree ordinance, was it was put to the voters in the 90s and it was turned down. Yeah, and which I had forgotten, and I am gonna call Ingo to clarify that. And was there another one that was voted on that was approved, that's why we have this now? I'm pretty sure that's what happened. So, this maybe not be the place to discuss all this, and I apologize,
Oh.
to the board,
All
but,
right.
seeing how we're involved with trees, I thought it'd be good to, if we kept the conversation about what this, because my concern, and one of the reasons I want to do the article, is to educate the public more that we do have one, because I don't think a lot of people know that we do.
We talked about that.
Right. You know who's a good resource for this? Doug Thiel.
And Doug, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, so we can ask him too.
Okay, thanks, thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Amanda, if we're talking about updating the tree ordinance, who initiates that? I know it goes through the planning commission at some point, but, who initiates that process and then who actually does the drafting of the revisions?
Yeah.
Do you have any idea how that works?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm wondering, is it gonna be, upon us to
Oh,
to put
it
forth
could very-
something?
It could very well be. It could be,
Could be.
Citizens or, any organization could
Because,
approach the township. Go ahead.
I just want to say that I know that Brian Borden, who I believe is our township planner, we are currently rewriting an ordinance involving chickens. So, yeah. So it may be something that the building department may handle, or the zoning specifically may handle something of that sort. I'm not sure. That is something that I
yeah,
could look
I'm not
into
sure
and
about
talk
that
to
either.
Ross
That
and
could
them
be.
and figure out if it is something that, Brian would be able to handle, or if it's something that we would have to handle individually through the committee. So that's something I could look into and then get back to you guys on that through either an email or some sorts of communication.
Great.
Great. But also, the township board, if they so choose, they could bring as a motion, like, hey, we need to amend this ordinance. They would get the township attorney on it, okay, to help the fashion the language, I would think. There could be public hearings and however they want to do it, but, procedurally, I think that's one of the ways it can happen, so.
And if we took a shot at what we want to change, right, the township attorney can always review it at a later date, but at least we could get what we want in there.
Yes. No, I agree.
As an example, back around 2017, 2018, the Conservancy and my husband, John Leon, spearheaded the ordinance to ban the use of coal tar sealants on gross seal. And Walter Posiak had, when he was a township trustee, he had initiated that, but that only went on the bike paths. And so the Conservancy and John studied other cities around the U.S. and in Michigan, and then proposed an ordinance, and that was discussed and run by the township lawyer and the trustees, and it passed. It's on the
Right,
books.
exactly. So yes, citizens do make a difference, can make a difference.
That was amazing that happened.
So what is it on the tree ordinance we want to change, or?
Yeah, my question is, looking at it, what do we need, like, what Ross thinks needs to be updated? That it needs updating, and about the endowment trust fund, about, that he feels that may not be applicable anymore. I don't know, I'm just confused about what's going on with it, and I'm just trying to get it updated.
He just said the environmental trust fund may no longer be allowed, but I haven't read it yet to see how that fits in.
And the other odd thing, the date on this is 1993 on the township for the ordinance, and the Conservancy didn't start till 93. So that it precluded the Conservancy.
I think it precluded.
And open space was 96. And open space came from the Conservancy, and then I assume the tree ordinance came after that, but I must have that all wrong. It must have been
I
first.
think it's before.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
So, all right, thank you.
You have to dig through the archives of the eel camera to find
Yes,
something.
that's a
Seriously,
good idea.
I know that.
Wonder where those are.
That's
wonder
a
if they're
good-
online.
Good, no, I wish. Okay. Anything else for discussion? Good discussions. Kaitlyn, anything going on in the school besides new semester?
Not right now because it is like a new semester. We haven't really like been doing much with the environment.
Yeah, she does, but it goes out there.
Just can't hear you.
Gotta be late loud.
So far, like, because it's the beginning of the new semester, we haven't really done anything yet, with anything.
What about the photos?
I don't have access, I don't think, to the Instagram account, so, I'd have to talk to Alicia about that one.
I do know, and I think we've talked a little bit about this, is that we're trying to look at the schools, certainly for Earth Week or Earth Day, like April 22nd, and we're looking at the involvement of all the schools. So one of the things that maybe we all will be working more closely with the schools on is like, okay, what are you guys doing? If nothing else, like a school outdoor cleanup, get people outside, any educational programs that may be going on in the buildings that during that time. We also, I think, want to link it to that week we were going to do our little sign project, cleaning up all the signs that are, that we already know some will be like up to being replaced because they're not salvageable, but there'll be other ones that will be like, hey, all they need is a little spit and polish, and then they'll should be good to go for another 20 years or so, but we're going to be working with you on that. And I do know Miss Roscoe, the environmental biology teacher and science teacher at the high school, has already allocated, has sent us emails of students who are, volunteering or willing to work on Dump the Junk, which will be happening, and willing to work on projects like that. So.
Yeah.
And one more thing, Kaitlyn, too. At the communications meeting at the Conservancy, it was a week ago tonight, there were 2 students from the high school there. I think one of them is president of student council, and they were really interested in being active too. And one's name is Katie, and I can't remember the other student. If you wanted to get a hold of them, and they were pretty gung-ho about helping, and we had some good ideas from them. And I apologize, I don't have their names, but they might be a good contact to work with, like get this Instagram thing moving.
Right, exactly. Good. Okay.
So
I'll have to figure out who they are.
Go ahead.
It used to be when I was a kid, and I think the practice is still there, that the state of Michigan, you can get free trees to plant during Earth Week or Arbor Day celebration.
Arbor Day and stuff like that.
I remember planting hundreds of trees growing up, so.
You want to check with Miss Roscoe, see if that's a possibility. I do know they've done like some wildflower plantings and things of that nature. They planted a rain garden in front of the school. That's certainly been going on.
So I mean, we talked about planting additional trees and things like that in the master plan and in open space, and trees that have fallen, or maybe you need to cut some down, replace them with something, so you could encourage the schools on all levels, elementary, middle, and high, for planting trees.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Good. Thank you. Miss Bartlett, anything from the township?
Not at this point, but I went to that EPA and Eagle meeting. I don't know if anybody else went to that with Debbie Dingle. Yeah, Bert, I sat by you, so yeah, you were definitely there. That meeting was really interesting, and I didn't know as much about PFAS and everything from BASF, and so anyways, that I saw some of it online, but that was a really good meeting to go to. Yeah.
Where was that at, if I may ask?
By the library in Trenton, in that building right there.
Right.
And it actually had a really good turnout of the mayors of the cities around here, people from DTE because of the new battery plant going in.
Right.
It was a big room, and it was pretty much packed.
Cool.
Yeah, so it was nice to see that much interest in the environment.
James, got anything on community development?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up one thing. Obviously, with dealing with the encroachment, you guys are able, you have my information, and I'm also going to provide you guys with the cards to reach out to me if you notice any issues that you would like addressed or to even talk about. So this is mostly to anyone who may watch this or is currently watching, or anyone that you all may know. In terms of getting in contact with us to address these sort of things, I'm the one, again, who handles the enforcements for Julie. I schedule her where she needs to go and when she needs to be there. If you go onto the GROSSE website, there is a citizen complaint form, and filing that makes it drastically easier for everyone. There's an information box where you can put exactly where it's at, the issue at hand, what to look for. Also, can you leave your information or be anonymous if you'd like? That way, we are able to contact you when Julie is out there, out and about. She can call you and say, you know, I don't see what you're referring to, so you can kind of maybe even go out there and point it out, be like, this is what I'm referencing. So it just makes it very easy for anyone, again, who's watching or listening to use a citizen complaint form. Since they don't have my information, it can just smooth things over very well. And I can say on like the two that we have been addressed recently, that it helped with those. One of the things we do need also is when a citizen complaint form is filed, to be as descriptive and accurate as you can, because as you know, open space can, you know, stretch on for miles, so it may be hard to find one issue along that entire mileage. So just be as specific as anyone can or anything like that, and it'd be a great help. But it's a great tool to use for not just encroachment open spaces, but any other sort of issues they may be having on the island.
We were also asked on that one what we want to do to have the property restored. I think they put down a gravel driveway and also a deer feeder. So we'll end up going back to the township and letting them know what we think needs to get done in the spring.
Yep. And so yeah, if you guys have anything on that, of course. And then I see under with the inspection under it, it is wondering if we can see if she has complied. And I do want to say that there is the normal process of I'll send Julie out. We will give them the allotted time, and then we will send out for reinspection scheduled on. Usually, I would like to say 10 to 14 days, but it may change. So,
Thank you. Mandy, you have anything for the Grosse Nature and Land Conservancy?
I have two items from the Conservancy about upcoming events. On Saturday, March 1st, there's going to be some maple sugaring at the Hickory Island Pavilion. The description is about Native Americans to the present day. Residents of the Great Lakes have fallen in love with sweet sunshine, maple sugar. Learn about the chemistry, the tools, and how to make your own syrup. It'll, as I said, at the Hickory Island Pavilion, you can check for more information on the Grosse Nature Land Conservancy.org website. A reminder to the kids that the Dr. Bruce Jones Memorial Scholarship is available to high school seniors and might be consider applying for it. Monday, April 7th is the deadline to submit 225 applications. Seniors should contact the high school counseling office for more information, application form, and submission. Grosse residents graduating from other high schools should email the application to info@ginlc.org, and the application is also on the gnlc.org website. More details and to download that. Okay.
Amanda?
So that's it.
Excuse me, what was the deadline on that scholarship again? The deadline date?
Deadline.
Sorry,
What's the
Ray.
deadline?
What's the deadline date for the scholarship?
April 7th.
Thank you.
Yeah, to submit the application.
Yep.
And Bert knows a lot about this particular scholarship. She's worked a lot on it. Just, you know, if you have any questions.
Yeah, I think it was released to the GIHS, to the high school on January 31st, so.
Good.
And we encourage people, seniors that are applying to definitely write in their essay about their environmental activities, organizations that they volunteer for, and it's great when they volunteer with the Roseville Nature and Land Conservancy.
And not just to write about recycling.
Right. Good. Anything else? Good. Thank you, Mandy.
Yep.
Theresa, anything going on with welcome letters?
No, we'll, put them out at the next quarter.
Okay, good, because
Orders right now?
we certainly have enough of the guide to nature areas and things of that nature, I think. Do we not?
Yes, so
Good.
we, I mean, I could put them out earlier, but we said.
No, we've been
that
doing
we
it
would
quarterly, I think.
Put
so-
out quarterly.
Right, exactly. Good.
It'll be December through,
March?
March. that
March.
will
Right,
go
okay,
out.
good. We'll check again in March. Good, thank you. Any public comments? This is the time for public comments, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. I think we're good. I would entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:22.
So moved.
So moved by Ms. Phillips. Second
Second.
by Mr. Geis. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? I didn't think so. Good, thank you very much. Good.